Hi, Maria here. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm excited to share with you some fragrances that I feel will be great for, like, you know, when it's just super hot outside and you don't want to wear anything cloying because it's going to make you feel sick. You just want something fresh, something that smells clean or invigorating, but kind of not heavy. So I've got 7 fragrances that I feel would fit into that category for one reason or another. When I look at these fragrances before me, I think fresh, I think uplifting, but just clean and I guess refreshing would be the term I would use. So maybe tea-like, maybe a little bit watery, but they all are a little bit lighter and are definitely not going to be cloying for you. So before we get started, if you haven't subscribed, just go ahead and hit that button. I would love for you to become part of the Weird and Wonderful family and yeah, be part of the community. It's a great place to be. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Okay, let's get started. Now, yeah, I've lumped these in, but I think that they all work for that. You know, you don't want something super thick, sweet, when it's really, really hot out. And I know it's starting to get hot for a lot of you. For me, it's so cold outside today that you would have to wear a jacket. Like, it's freezing. Like, I'm freezing even in the house. Like, it's just cold today. So cold here, but in many places in the world right now, especially for my wonderful subscribers, you guys are experiencing quite a lot of warmth. So I thought it would be a good time to look at these. Plus, we're heading into June, and that's when, you know, you just kind of want to break out those summer fragrances. So these are some of my summery, refreshing fragrances that I want to share with you, and let's get started. So the first one I'm going to start with is Amethyst by Lalique. Now, this was not, like, this is definitely not blind buy worthy, but what I love about this one is it's not overly sweet. Now, when you look at the notes on Fragrantica, you get big strawberry and blackberry and currant and blueberry, I think, is in it. So all these delicious berry notes. And so the first thing I thought was, oh, this is going to be sweet and delicious. It has vanilla in there, so I'm thinking like a sweet berry fragrance. This did not live up to that idea. So this is not sweet at all. At least I don't find it sweet. I find this, it's definitely berry, but the berry in this, it smells like fresh berries. So you walk into the forest, you can smell the leaves and the bark, maybe a little bit of moss on the ground of the, like, forest. So like moss, green, a little bit of dampness. That's what this is. And so you go berry picking and you got all these berries, and then you mosh them up with the leaves and the stems, and then you make some sort of like tea or a watery drink with it. So that's what this reminds me of. It's not sweet to me anyway. It's more a little bit green with very fresh berries that aren't necessarily ripe. So you know, I think you kind of get what I mean. This one just smells like you're walking through a fresh forest to me. I love it. I really do. I don't think this one's blind buy worthy. Like, I think a lot of people might not like this, but I just find it so refreshing. I find this one very calming. Actually, maybe that's another thing. Like, these are refreshing, but you know how when, like, there's a difference between invigorating and refreshing. So when I think refreshing, I think like that. These kind of all fit into that category for whatever reason. So love this one. This one stays pretty linear, although it does just sweeten up just a tinge on the skin. I find that the longevity for all of these is very, like, kind of more weak. So I noticed this one for about 3-4 hours max. But I think it's beautiful. I don't feel like you can overspray this. And it smells really kind of spa-like to me, and I love it. If I'm feeling like I need something to relax me, this is definitely one I pull out. So the next fragrance that I have for you is Elizabeth Arden White Tea. Now this one, it smells quite green. It smells tea-like. It just smells fresh. It smells fresh, clean, and again, kind of spa-like. Now this one has kind of interesting notes to me. The top notes have sea notes, fern, mandarin, and clary sage. In the mid you have white tea, iris, and mate. I think that's how you say it. And then in the base you have ambrette, exotic woods, tonka bean, and amber. I don't really get any of the base notes. What I get is just like a very clean, simple tea note. So it does smell like tea. It smells very clean. I get a little bit of powder. It's quite green. It's certainly not sweet at all. I don't notice the orange in this at all. It just smells really relaxing, again, spa-like. So this is one, you know, if you want something refreshing and it's just so hot and humid out, something like this or like Amethyst to me is so nice. And again, the thing about these ones is that there's really no sweetness to them at all. And sometimes that's what you need. So I just think these ones are great, especially if it's super humid outside and you don't want to just be choked out by your fragrance. Both of these are gorgeous for that. The next tea-like fragrance that I have to share, it's new to my collection, is Elizabeth Arden Green Tea Nectarine Blossom. Now this one, again, there's a hint of green in the opening with this one. I just love this one. I definitely love this one more than this one. But this one, I think because I do like a little hint of sweet in there, this one is so pretty. You get a bit of green in the opening and a little bit of that blossom in the opening. I think that the nectarine blossom is actually in the mid notes, but I notice it right off the bat. And then what I find with this one, it's really simple. You get that tea-like experience, but then as it dries down, you get peach and nectarine. And so I said this in the last video where I talked about this one. What I love about it, it stays pretty close to the skin. But when I smell my skin, it just smells almost edible. Like it's just a really sweet, delicious, tea-like smell that is just, I just think it's beautiful. Yeah, it's really nice. This one, I love that peach tea vibe that I get from this one. Again, this one isn't long lasting, like 3 hours. Sillage is fine, like maybe for an hour you would notice it, and then it's more of a skin scent. But again, in the super dead of heat, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out. I can see this one kind of coming out a little bit more, but I just love this one. And again, I mentioned this last video, but if you're in Canada, there's a place called Lisa's Pop-Up Shop, and they are selling this 50 ml for $6.99. So if you're not in Canada, unfortunately, you can't order from there, but I did look on FragranceNet, and they have all of the Elizabeth Arden green tea fragrances for really reasonable on fragrancenet.com as well. So don't pay full price for these because I just don't think it's worth it. But I am so glad I have this one in my collection. Like I just scooped it up with my hand. I would say it was like eating a peach, but I got it in my eyes. How do I manage that every time? Anyway, this one is really, really pretty. Now, I'm just curious. I've heard a lot of you say that you like the pear, like the Elizabeth Arden green tea and pear blossom. Other ones say pomegranate. If you've tried them all, like if you've tried several of them, give me your thoughts because I'm really tempted to get pear blossom and pomegranate. Pomegranate has raspberry in it, and I'm a huge raspberry lover, so I'm pretty sure I would love that one. I also really love pear. So tell me what you think of them. Tell me what the longevity is like on them, if you think it's worth getting. I definitely like this, and especially if I can get it for $6.99. Like really, it's kind of a glorified body spray, a little bit better than that. It doesn't have quite as much alcohol, and I like the sophistication of this. So a lot of times body sprays are a little candy-like and a lot more artificial. This smells like this still has that spa-like quality. So I'm really liking these. So if you've tried them, let me know what you think. Okay, now the next really refreshing fragrance that I have, and again, this one is kind of like an infused water type idea, and that would be 3 l'Impératrice. Now, that's another question I have for you guys. I really try with the French pronunciation, but I think I butcher it every time. Do you guys care? Like I'll try to say 3 l'Impératrice, but I think I do a terrible job at the French, so it's just easier to go, you know, 3 l'Impératrice. Does it matter? Like, I can try sound more sophisticated, 3 l'Impératrice, but I think it comes across cheeseball. So maybe that's just me being self-conscious. Tell me what you like. If you want, I will try with the French. Otherwise, I'll just do English because that's way easier. I want to try sound sophisticated, but let's face it, not always succeeding. This one in the top notes, it has kiwi, rhubarb, and pink pepper. Now I definitely get that kiwi, and I definitely notice a tartness, which I'm assuming is from the rhubarb. Don't really notice the red pepper though. But then in the mid you have watermelon, cyclamen, and jasmine. Now I get a slight floral note to it. I wouldn't know what it is, but I definitely get that watermelon. In the base you have lemon tree, musk, and sandalwood. So this one I definitely get all those fruits. It does smell, I know it's MJ, Maria, it's MJ on YouTube. She said it was like a fruit infused water. I would say that's the best description I've heard of this one. You know how fruit salad smells like kind of fruity? Like if you have the watermelon, melony, like slightly watery, quite sweet. This one is paired with that musk, and I definitely get a lot of musk. But this one again is just super refreshing. So it gives you a little bit more of that sweetness, but there's still an ozonic quality to this, a watery quality. And it's a little bit more playful and feminine rather than these two. But it's still like quite refreshing and just not overpowering. So in the humidity, again, or the hot, you don't want something super overpowering. That said, I find that this one lasts pretty good on my skin. Like I'll notice this one for at least 4 hours. So like I said, longevity on all of these kind of more refreshing fragrances isn't great, but I don't mind that either because I don't want something super overpowering when it's super hot. So definitely love those. Now next fragrance I'm going to talk about, and it kind of fits in, like it's kind of right in there with the green teas as far as longevity and how much it sticks around. But I thought it was worth mentioning was Dolce & Gabbana's Light Blue Love is Love. Now Lori, like I've said before, she's a huge light blue fan, and light blue just doesn't work on me. So it just goes too sharp. It's too fresh for me, and I'm just not a fan. But she didn't like this one because she felt like she couldn't really smell it, like it's kind of a non-scent to her. So I just sprayed it on my arm, and I really like this one. It's very, very light, but again, if you're in the heat, you don't want something major projecting. I think that this one would be really pretty, and if you're not a fan of light blue, you may like this one. So it's definitely fresh. In the opening, you get lemon, Granny Smith apple, and red berries. I don't really get the red berries or the apple, but I do get that hit of lemon. But the lemon is coupled with a very light sweetness. In the mid, you get raspberry ice cream, so raspberries, ice cream, and jasmine. I don't notice the jasmine, but I do notice that a brightness of raspberry, and then just a hint of sweetness, which would be the cream. Now in the base you get whipped cream, cedar, musk, and amber. I don't really notice that at all. So there is a slight creamy sweetness. This could have been amazing. So this could have been, you know, Girl of Now Forever has raspberry and lemon in. It's way too sharp, and then the almond, it just somehow didn't work for me. I've tried it a few times. Part of me still likes it, so I haven't gotten rid of it, although I think I did include it in the declutter. But this one headed in the right direction. So it's got the kind of bright lemon. It kind of reminds me a bit of sorbet, like the lemon and the raspberry, with just a hint of creaminess in it. So a little bit of sugariness. So I really like this one. It's definitely got that sweet vibe where I found light blue to be just fresh and lemony. On other people, I noticed that sweet vanilla. With this one on me, I get lemon, raspberry, and then a little bit of that sweetness, the you know, whipped cream or the ice cream coming across more as vanilla. So I really like this one. The projection is terrible on it. It's more close to the skin. Like I said, Lori couldn't even smell it. Like, she's like, what is this? Like, it's just, you know, but I happen to like this one. Again, super light, super airy, and I think it's actually perfect for the heat. Now, definitely these last two, I was unsure if I should include them. As far as refreshing or clean, I thought they actually kind of fit, so I wanted to include them. You can decide whether you think I'm crazy or not. But the first one is Zara Yellow Sun. I don't know if you can still get Yellow Sun. I know they change the packaging all the time. This one is, out of all of them, the juiciest and the sweetest. But again, it's still light and airy, kind of leans toward a berry tea, but a sweetened berry tea. It doesn't have tea in it. This one has apple, apricot, and coconut in it. So it's just light and refreshing. It's an eau de toilette, so again, the longevity isn't good. But to me, it's still like just kind of, like, it feels relaxing somehow. It's not overly strong, but it's definitely got that refreshing, sweet quality, slightly tea-esque. Yeah, like all of these somehow are kind of a little bit watery, or maybe some people would say they're weak, but yeah, they just have that kind of refreshing. But out of all of them, this would be definitely the sweetest and the fruitiest out of all of them. Tell me if you've tried this one. I really like it. I just think it's cheery and happy, but it's not overpowering in the heat. I don't think it would get cloying at all. So the last fragrance I have for you, this one for sure, I'm like, oh, I don't know if it fits, but it kind of does because it's just clean. It's not overly sweet, and that is Pure Musk for Her, Narciso Rodriguez. I had a sample of this last summer, and when it was really hot, I put this on and I really loved it. It smelled classy. It's definitely the strongest out of all of these fragrances, but it still just smelled refreshing somehow. This one has musk, floral notes, and cashmeran. It's mainly just musky. There's a floral aspect to it, but it just smells really, really clean, like clean sheets that have dried in the sun. That's what it reminds me of. The bottle, I think, suits it because it's just crisp lines, you know, clean, fresh sheets is what I get out of this. And sometimes it's just nice to have a scent that isn't overly floral or overly fruity. Just kind of clean. So this definitely gives me that vibe. It's not going to be cloying. It doesn't, like, it's not overpowering, but it's definitely a longer lasting fragrance. Like, I'd get at least 5 hours out of this. The projection is more, but I just, yeah, I find this one would be great for if it's super, super duper hot outside. Why do I do this every time I talk about it being hot? You know what? The reality is I am not a fan of the heat. If it gets above 25 Celsius, I don't know what that is. Like, if I'm in the, like, outside during the summer, I can handle 32 Celsius. I'm not sure what that would be in Fahrenheit, but only if I'm in the shade and basically not doing anything and have air conditioning everywhere else. But if we don't have air conditioning in this part of the world, there's, like, some people do. I wouldn't mind it for the, I don't know, 5 days that we get hot weather. But overall, I don't do well in the heat. So when it's really hot, if the perfume's too heavy, then it starts to choke you out. So to me, all of these fragrances are just so nice for, they're not, like, they're just a little bit more pared down, which normally I like things amped up. But in the dead of heat, I want something slightly watery. Like, you know, putting on these fragrances, except for this one, putting on these fragrances would be like if I was being immersed in a watery bath with fruits and maybe a few petals. Like, that's what I'm looking for when it's super hot out. So all of these fit that category. Which ones are your favorites? Do you like any of these? Do you have any suggestions for me on kind of just slightly watery, tea-ish, refreshing fragrances that are good in the middle of the hot, hot summer? I would love to know. And other than that, I hope you have an amazing week, and we'll talk to you soon.